All right, another characteristic of you can also find a relative extrema, relative maximum, and relative minimum. So when R value is increasing to decreasing or decreasing to increasing, you're going to have relative extrema. So what we're going to do what we've been doing, f of theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sine of 2 theta. I'm going to go ahead and graph it here because I personally don't like that, okay? All right, so f of theta is equal to, I'm going to switch up the order, -2 sine of 2 theta plus 1 is what I'm graphing, okay? All right, midline is at 1. 1, and sine with the -a, so it's going to go down and up. And when I do that, amplitude is 2, so it's going to go down to -1, and it's going to go up to 3. Okay, all right. Period is 2 pi over b. Period is going to be pi, so this is pi. I'm going to cut that into fourth. Boop, boop, boop. Wouldn't it be pi over 4? Half the pi, 3/4 the pi, and pi. Okay, I'm going to use that graph. In the polar coordinate 0 to pi, which of the following statement is true about graph of that? I'm quickly glancing my choices, and some of them have pi over 3, some of them have a 2/3 of pi, which I don't have it here, right? I'm assuming those are going to be my zeros, but I'm not sure exactly. So I am going to, let's see, just estimate where those are going to be, shall we? All right. So on the unit circle, pi over 4 is here, right? And half the pi is here. So where will be pi over 3? Wouldn't that be somewhere in the middle? So there's pi over 4, there's half the pi, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I'm assuming it's going to be 0 here. That's going to be pi over 3. Where is it going to be 2/3 of a pi? Wouldn't 2/3 of a pi be between half the pi and pi? Half the pi and pi, particularly 2/3 of pi is going to be between half the pi and 3/4 the pi. So 3/4 the pi, half the pi, 2/3 is going to be here. Yeah? All right. Letter A. It's going to have relative minimum between pi over 3 and 2/3 of pi. Pi over 3 is here, 2/3 of pi is here, while relative minimum is here. So it's not going to be between those two. Wrong. What about 2/3 of a pi to pi? 2/3 of pi to pi. Over here, am I going to have a relative minimum? No. Well, I guess this couldn't happen. This is your relative minimum, right? Decreasing to increasing, and that is your relative maximum. Letter C, pi over 3 to 2/3 of a pi. Am I going to have relative maximum there? Yes, you do, right here. 2/3 of a pi to nope, because there's nothing over here. So letter C is correct. Average rate of change formula, f of b minus f of a over b minus a can be still applied to the polar. There's f of theta. I'm looking for the average rate of change. So the formula f of b minus f of a over b minus a. I'm just going to write it down, the generic one. Let's apply appropriate to this one. So there's your a, there's your b value. So r of b, pi, minus r of a, pi over 2. Why am I using the r? Oh, not r. I don't know why I'm using r. I gotta use f. Divided by b, pi minus half the pi. Yeah? All right. Pi minus half the pi is going to be half the pi. So my denominator is going to be half the pi. What about the numerator? Well, I got to find out. What will f of pi be? I'm going to take pi, plug it in over here. 3 minus 3 cosine of pi. Use that unit circle. Cosine of pi is going to be over here, x value -1. That'll be 6. So f of pi is 6 minus, what about f of half the pi? Cosine of half the pi is 0. It'll just be 3. So you got 3 divided by pi over 2. 3 multiplied by reciprocal, 2 over pi. That'll be 6 over pi. So the slope, average rate of change between half the pi and pi is going to be pi over 6. All right, number 6. On which following interval is the average rate of change equal to 0? Average rate of change equal to 0, so that means what? Slope is 0. So just think about any graph, folks. So if I'm looking for where slope is 0, like for example, I just made up this graph, by the way. Wouldn't these 2 points, the slope will be 0? That means they're the same. Whatever the input is, your output is going to be the same. So I'm looking for the same answers. So if I get the same answers for these two, these two, these two, these two, that's what I'm looking for. I'll show you what I mean by that. So f what is it? 3/4 of pi is equal to, I'm going to plug it in here, 3 times sine of 2 times 3/4 of pi. That'll be 3 times sine of 3/2 the pi. Whew. Sine of 3/2 the pi is -1, so that's -3. What about f of pi over 4 this time? Hopefully you guys can see. Sine of half the pi is 1, 3. So did you get the same y value? No. Okay, so that's what you're going to do on all of this and find which one gives you 0. For the sake of the time, I'm just going to tell you what it is. So when you plug 3/4 in, you got -3. That's 3. That's -3. That's -3. That's 3. That's -3. So I'm looking for C, where the outputs are the same. All right, this one now, we're going to use the average rate of change to estimate what's going on. We have done this before, okay? So let's look at it. The table above gives a value of function. Use the average rate of change to estimate f of pi 5/6 of pi. So first thing first, I'm going to find the average rate of change, okay, between these two. So f of 7/6 of pi minus f of pi over 6 divided by 7/6 of pi minus pi over 6. To find the slope, denominator is a pi. Your numerator, f of 7/6 of pi, it tells you -1 minus f of pi over 6 is 2. -3 over pi. That's your slope, average rate of change. Okay, good so far? All right, so if I know the slope and I'm looking to estimate on the another one, do you all remember this formula? Y minus y1 equal to m, x minus x1. Yeah, that's what we're going to use. So we need three information. We need to know the slope, m. Which m should I use? Right here, -3 over pi. So that's where we're going to plug it in. We have to know a point. Good news, you have two options. So you can use whatever you want. I'm going to use pi over 6, 2. That's going to go into your x1. That's going to go into your y1. And you need to know which x value we're evaluating at. What x value are we evaluating at? 5/6 of pi. So let's plug it all in. Y minus, what's a y1? 2 equal to the slope m, -3 over m, x, 5/6 of pi minus x1, pi over 6. Y minus 2, -3 over n, that will be 4/6 of pi. Let's multiply, that'll be negative 2 pi over, where did I get this? Oh, that's supposed to be n pi. Oh my word, pi. Okay, so -2 is equal to y minus 2. Whew. Y is equal to -2 plus 2, which is going to be 0. There we go. All right, thank you.